talking and Coretta's talking. My grandfather had a dream that his 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that enough is enough. And that this should be a gun-free world. Period. Will you please repeat these words after me? Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation. Now I'd like you to say it like you really, really mean it. Spread the word. Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation. Now I'd like you to say it like you really, really mean it, and the whole entire world can hear you.
Okay, so you just heard from Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, who I didn't even know she existed until a couple days ago. Forgive my ignorance if I didn't know. Some people thought that it was the niece, that coon of a niece that is up there stomping for Trump. Like that, like a freaking frack. And y'all know what I'm talking about when I say freaking frack. But when I heard that they had brought out his granddaughter to speak at this event, I said, oh my God, no they didn't. I said, oh, why did they do that? I said, I know why they did that, but I had to question, why did they do that? I said, her grandfather and grandmother, for that matter, will be rolling in their graves if they knew their little granddaughter, who was only 9 years old, was being used as a tool and a pawn in their little game. And see, she's too young to really understand what is going on. That's what makes it even more upsetting. And as you can see, she's standing there holding hands with that white chick, that white girl who brought her out. Like, they literally went and they found her and brought her up there just so she could say that. And notice when she said, I am the granddaughter of Martin Luther King Jr., how loud they got. Because, see, they see Martin Luther King Jr. as their own personal savior, or their deflector when it comes to racism in this establishment, when it comes to how they want to talk and deal with us. This is the thing they like to do. What would Martin Luther King Jr. say and do and say if he knew y'all were acting like this? Man, I want to come back at them with something and say, what would Hitler say and do if he knew y'all were acting the way y'all were? I so badly want to say that to some of them. But this right here was like, this is actually my first time listening to her give this speech. I was already done when I found out they actually had her up there, and me not hearing anything that she said. This goes back to what Harvey Superboy talks about on his channel a lot when it comes to being used. And I can't wait to see the commentary he gives about this, because I have to pretty much predict that he already knows about this, and that he's going to give a very strong opinion, probably even stronger than mine, but it's pretty much going to line up in the same way. And Nicole, from Nicole's view, Lisa Cabrera, if y'all are out there, I want y'all to speak up on this too, because this was cringeworthy. Because they use this little girl and it's sad. And notice they used the granddaughter. I know Martin Luther King has grandsons. They used the granddaughter. Take off the grand, leave the daughter, daughter meaning female. And that's something else Mr. Superboy talks about. He says that they are known to use black females more so than the black male, unless that male is a coon. Of course, then they don't mind being used. I mean, you had Martin Luther King's niece up there stumping for Trump, cooning. That's his niece, another woman. Now you have his. Now I'm not going to sit here and disrespect the child and say that she's a coon or anything like that, because she doesn't know any better. She's only 9, so she doesn't know what. So she probably doesn't know why she was up there. To be honest, when you listen to her speaking her tone, it sounded like it was rehearsed, like it was scripted. It didn't sound like it came straight from her heart. It sounded like they wrote that up and they said, here, memorize these lines, and you come out here and you deliver these lines as if it wasn't rehearsed. This was very hard to listen to, let alone watch. When they can get your kids like this, because see, they had to get a child to do this because it wouldn't have had the same effect coming from a grown adult. And because it's Martin Luther King's granddaughter and how white people have bastardized him over the years since his death, that's why they would be more inclined to gravitate towards her. Now, why not bring out Malcolm X's daughter? Since y'all want to bring out black women for everything else, why not bring her out? Oh, that's right. Y'all didn't like Malcolm X. The Black Panthers, if they had any daughters, and I'm sure they did, why didn't you bring any of them out? Oh, that's right. You didn't like the Black Panthers. Or any other black figures that you deem to be too militant or, in your case, too terroristic. But see, Martin Luther King Jr. to them was the safe Negro. So that's why they had to use her as a prop. And I'm very sure that he and his late wife, Coretta Scott King, would not approve of this. At least I hope they wouldn't. And I need to know who she's the daughter to. Which child is she the daughter to? Because they need to be smacked in the back of their head for doing this. This literally blew my mind, and not in a good way. Another tragic case of being used, but this time they're using the kids. Because they know kids are young and impressionable and their minds aren't fully developed yet and they can't make their own decisions. It's not like she could just back out of it and say, I don't want to do this. It would have been dope if she did, but let's be real here. She's only 9. Now, my stance would have been a little bit different with her if she was, say, like 18. Then, of course, she's in her right state of mind and her mind is fully developed, or at least it should be by that age. But she's only 9. And notice she said, let's make this a gun-free world. Sweetheart, I hate to say it, but this will never be a gun-free world. After all, it was a gun that killed her grandfather. An assassination, by the way. That blew his face off, blew his head off. He didn't die by natural causes, unfortunately. I think if he died by natural causes, I think we would have preferred that because, natural causes, you can't prevent that. That's just nature taking its course. But when you get murdered like that, and he was only in his 30s, he was in his prime. But I hate that they used her as a pawn and a prop for their little gain. And notice they had to use a black girl because it wouldn't have had the same effect if they had used a little white girl. This is them trying to get black people to come into the fold because they know if they use the children that black people will gravitate towards it. Because it's almost like cute and innocent thing like that. Oh, moment. Oh my God. Notice it's mostly white people that's going goo gaga over this and not really black people because we see, well, at least the sane ones or the ones with a functioning brain can see through their bullshit. I can. My subscribers, I'm very sure you can as well. This was very hard to listen to and it was very hard to watch. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments.